And joining us now is Amanda Bryden. Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time this week to chat with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, so before we get to this project that you guys have embarked on, I want to just maybe get a sense of history, maybe a sense of significance of historic Route 66, particularly through Illinois. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So Route 66 is probably the most famous road in America, and it was first commissioned in 1926, and it predates the highway system. So it was a working road from 1926 until about the 1970s to 80s, depends on where the interstate came in. And it started in Chicago, and it traveled through several states, leading all the way to Los Angeles. And our project is an oral history project where we're trying to capture firsthand accounts of the road, because even though it's not like what we term a working road anymore, meaning like the main route, it was the main route for many, many decades. And it just holds a lot of mystique, I would say, in popular culture. Like there's the famous Route 66 song, and then there was a famous TV show in the 1960s about Route 66, some guys traveling the road. And then, of course, John Steinbeck, the author, coined the term Mother Road to describe Route 66. So it's been around a long time. And even though it's not like in of course, you can still drive portions of it, but even though it's not like the main route anymore, a lot of people are still aware of it and do like to travel the road and get a little bit of nostalgia and history as they do, because there are some businesses that are along the road that are still in place now, that were back then, or maybe like the buildings are still there, and they're abandoned now, or maybe the buildings are also still there, but they're used for different businesses today than what they were in the past. So there are a lot of people that come, especially from Europe, who come and travel the road for fun, just to kind of learn a little bit about America, Americana, with it traveling through the heart of the country. A lot of what people hear about, especially overseas, they might hear more about the coasts, but since the road traveled through the heart of the heartland, they really get a kick out of seeing that and experiencing that.
I'm going to come back to a lot of what you talked about in a second, but you did mention the project. Can you clarify exactly what this project is and what it's going to look like once it's complete?
Exactly, yes, I can do that. So I work at the Illinois State Museum, and we launched a project earlier this year in partnership with the National Park Service. We received a grant from them, and also with the Illinois State Museum Society, our friends group. So the three of us have partnered to conduct an oral history project where we're trying to collect 100 interviews of people who have firsthand experiences of the road. And we're trying to focus on what we're calling the heyday of the road, meaning before it was decommissioned in the 1980s. So those folks who traveled during the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and into the early 80s. And we're looking for people who traveled along the road, whether it was for business or for pleasure, people who lived along the road, people who maybe worked in a business like a service station or a restaurant along the road. So just as we're trying to gear up for the 2026 centennial of Route 66, because it was established in 1926. And so we're trying to collect these stories as best we can, because unfortunately, as each year passes on, there are less and less opportunities to speak with people who have direct connections to the road. And so we're just trying to do our part and collect as many as we can. And the goal is 100.
So let's say someone's listening to this and they say, "Hey, that kind of fits the bill." Is there a way for people to know if maybe what they have to share is significant enough? Because I imagine someone may say, "Oh, that's not a big deal, or that's not that worthy of a story," but perhaps it might be.
That's exactly right. A lot of times people sell themselves short, and they think that what they have like isn't important enough or is insignificant or not much to say. But but it is very important. And people remember more than maybe that they realize, like once the conversation starts flowing. I can't tell you how many interviews we've done so far where someone has said like, oh, wow, like you're jogging some memories here. I haven't thought about such and such in such a long time. And they were just really kind of getting a kick out of themselves for remembering little features and little nuggets of information that they might not have thought about for a really long time. So if people are interested in reaching out, I definitely encourage them to do so. We'd love to hear from you. And we have a project manager, and her name is Judy Wagenblast. And her email, I guess I can read it to you. Her email is JWAGENBLASTP as in Paul @gmail.com. So that's probably the best way to reach her. We also have the State Museum's phone number, which is 217-782-7386. So people can reach out either way and just give us a chat and we can go into more detail.
Because you talked about how historic this route is, and I think a lot of us know that, given that it's so historic, so well documented, whether it's historically or perhaps just in pop culture, literature, is there still something to be learned from these stories that you're going to come across? Are you already learning something? Is there a gap maybe in the information that you have?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can never learn enough in any history. But yes, with Route 66, I mean, there's definitely some things that that we have just little nuggets of information that people remember. It might not necessarily like be in the history books per se, but we'll be making our interviews available online on our website. And so people can listen to the interviews. We are recording them. And then there's also going to be a transcription right next to it. So you can also like read as we're speaking, you can read along and follow. And I think that a lot of the information that we are hearing is pretty specific stuff, which would, I think, be really interesting for people, especially if you live in certain areas of Illinois. A lot of the history people are talking about, like, of course, it's Route 66 is the centerpiece of it, but then they're also talking about like other history that kind of like overlays the road, if you will. And so I think a lot of people, if you're wanting to know, of course, about Route 66, but even just along like communities along the road, I think that it would be like really worthwhile and beneficial because, again, as people are reminiscing about things, it's like other stories will come up that sometimes they connect about Route 66 and sometimes not. But we're just trying to just capture a flavor of what it was to travel the road, back during its heyday. And what's one really interesting thing that has been brought up by almost everyone that we've interviewed is about how whenever it was like the main route, people didn't necessarily think of it as anything special. It was just a way to get from point A to point B. But then you fast forward to today where you have like the resurgence in the interest of Route 66. It's like people kind of miss the aspects of being able to travel through small towns and just see small town life, small town America, and kind of travel at a slower pace because now, of course, most people take the interstate. You fly 70, 75 miles down the road, see cornfields and maybe drive through a few communities. But going through the old way, people get just kind of like the scenic route.
Yeah, and perhaps the only downside at this point is we have to wait 2 years for the project to be completed. So I think we're looking forward to that. Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to educate us, and I hope folks reach out to you guys.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.